here's another topic that we want to discuss, okay? And again, I don't know how long we're going to be on this for, but we're going to try. Super Bowl contenders this year. Okay, so this is what I want to do. You guys got a little bit of time, think. Come up with 2 AFC teams that you think truly are contenders, 2 NFC teams, and then a sleeper on both sides. So whoever wants to go first, just give me one team on one side, and we'll go around the room over and over and over again so you got some time to think about your other guys. But real fast, whoever wants to start, Jackson, maybe if you got one, I don't know, if you want to throw one out there.
I got one off the top of my head in the AFC. I can tell you that right now. It's the Kansas City Chiefs.
Kansas City Chiefs.
I mean, I think a lot of people, when they think about the Chiefs, they really just do think about the lack of wide receivers and the offense. But this is the best defense Mahomes has had, hands down. So I think toss out the problems about the defense. There's none there. When you go look back at the box scores of the Chiefs game, 9 receivers have catches, 8 receivers, 11 receivers, 10. It's every single game of at least 9 guys have catches. And so that's going to, it's going to take a while for people to get in the rhythm. That's why in the past few seasons you see by like week 10, week 11, week 12, you look up in the standings, holy crap, the Chiefs are 9-2 and everyone's clicking. And I think that's what's going to happen again this year because I think there is a lot of talent in this Chiefs receiver room. I think Kadarius Toney has, I think the sky's the limit for a guy like Kadarius Toney. He just hasn't been healthy and he's had some drop issues. I know Nick's a big fan of Rashee Rice. Over the last few weeks, I've become a huge fan of Rashee Rice. And I think Sky Moore is more of a gadget guy, but I think, he's a guy, you give him the ball in his hands, he could take it for a touchdown. And then you got guys like Travis Kelce, who we all know he's, one of the best tight ends in the league, one of the best tight ends of all time, in my opinion. And Noah Gray is another good tight end. So there's a lot of guys they give the ball to, and then Isaiah Pacheco is a beast running the ball. So I think when we get down to season and, get into the thick of things, the Chiefs are going to be clicking, and then they're going to be one of the top teams in the AFC, and they are right now.
Look.
And they got Taylor Swift.
Yeah. Swift's on their side. Kyle, what do you think? I mean, are you going to also plug in the Chiefs, or are you going to go a little bit
Yeah, I would not. Dude, trust me, when I say I'm a Mahomie, I don't know what it is. I'm like one of the biggest Mahomes fans. I love Patrick Mahomes. So I wouldn't count Patrick Mahomes out if he was the only person on the team playing offense and defense. Mahomes is always going to be there for as long. He is an all-time great. I don't think there's any argument with me right there. And if you want to argue, let's argue. Mahomes is one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. I love watching him. Maybe it's just because I'm growing up watching him now. But I would never count out Patrick Mahomes as long as it is, because I put him in the same situation. He had bad defense, not a lot of playmakers. Guess who also had bad defense and not a lot of playmakers their whole career? Drew Brees. So I see a lot of it, except, Mahomes maybe like 10 times more talented in a sense of way. But I will never count out Mahomes as long as I was a Saints fan growing up watching Drew Brees have that same throw into 10 different guys a game. You never have a solid defense, which he has. Mahomes has a solid defense this year, but I wouldn't count Mahomes out.
Yes, I also believe you cannot count out Patrick Mahomes. But here's my concern, okay? Bearer of bad news here. The defense has been a little bit. I mean, they haven't been bad. The offense and defense are like, I don't know, Jackson. It just doesn't seem like it's been what it's been over there. I mean, you got the offense, right? I love Rashee Rice, and I just don't know if I'm gonna sit here and say that look, I'm never again. I'm just trying to give a different shake here. It's not. I'm saying the Chiefs have no chance. The Chiefs have a very good shot at making the Super Bowl again and probably winning it. But I'm gonna say this. This has probably been their worst chance in a long time, and here's why. Number one, the AFC is loaded with talented quarterbacks, right? Just go right down the line. Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. I know they're struggling right now, but you got to think that they're going to figure it out. Trevor Lawrence, Lamar Jackson, right? I mean, I'm not a Tua guy, but the weapons around him are absolutely insane. Justin Herbert, who nobody's even talking about right now. Aaron Rodgers won't be back in time, but he's another guy that you got to worry about maybe next year, but not for now. So there are a lot of guys, and when I think about a team, look, the Chiefs, you can't count out Spagnuolo. You can't count out Andy Reid. There's a team that they just lost this week, but I was low on them, and then I saw them beat the Dolphins, and I think it might be Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills this year. And they're going through a ton of adversity right now. They just lost Matt Milano. He's hurt. I don't know how that's going to shape up. There's a lot of adversity, but I've seen teams before fight through adversity and go far. And I'm not look, the Bills right now, after all these injuries, they lost Tre'Davious White, they lost Matt Milano. Doesn't look like a good shot, but I'm telling you right now, you get to the playoffs, Josh Allen can make something happen, and he could be that guy that, man, I'm telling you, I mean, you saw just what was it last year? The Chiefs and the Bills were going back and forth, weren't they? Wasn't this year? Was that last year or 2 years ago? That was 2 years ago.
The 13-second game, is that what you're thinking of?
Yes.
Yeah, that was 2021. I'll
Okay.
tell you what, man.
Wasn't that a crazy game, though?
I'll tell you what, man. You don't even want to just know the words coming out of my mouth watching that game. Just a pure fan, dude. Just holy crap.
No, it was.
Look.
Hey, Loki broke the stream.
No, you're good. I'm gonna fix it. No,
Yeah, okay.
I know. I was like, Jackson's camera's always messed up. I got it fixed. I'm doing that now. No, but look, I'm not saying the Bill. Look, again, if I had to choose somebody, I'm going the Chiefs. But the Bills are a team that, again, maybe not this year because of all those injuries. I mean, I just thought of those injuries right now off the top of my head. But they're a team you got to look out for. Another team, I'll go again. I'll add one more team out there that I think has a really good shot. And this is another team, I said sleepers at the end, but honestly, I feel like the sleepers have a better chance this year than some of these good teams.
Yeah.
There's a few. The Bengals are a team right now that
tough.
are really in an iffy situation, right? We don't know if they're even going to make the playoffs, but if they can get there, the team's so talented, it could happen. But I'm not going to go Bengals. Another team I really like in an iffy situation is the LA Chargers. The Chargers are another squad that I love Justin Herbert, but I hate Brandon Staley. Not him personally, but as a coach, he's just not a good coach. And the other team that I'm going to list here, and they're number one in their division right now, but I'm going to say my other team. So right now I would say the Chiefs are number one for sure. Okay, take the Bills out with all the injuries, but they're a team to think about still. The second team I'm going to go with as a legitimate chance in the AFC, I'm going to give it to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Because of this reason. They got a really defense and really playing tough around the ball. They've been flying to the football. Just last week they looked pretty dang solid, right? I mean, it was a close game, but they beat the Buffalo Bills due to all those injuries. But if they can start clicking on all cylinders, they'll be tough. They got a generational talent in Trevor Lawrence. They got really good weapons in Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk. And again, I'm going to continue to stress that defense is pretty damn solid. So I'm going to go Kansas City number one, Jacksonville number two. Jackson, who's your number two in the AFC?
I'm just flip-flopping between so many different teams right now. I really do want to say Buffalo, but I just do this. So when you're injured like that, they're really going to linger you. Von Miller's coming back. You never know if he's going to go down again. He's old. He's injured. He's had some pretty tough injuries in his career. I guess I'm going to say the Miami Dolphins. Because I just really do believe in that offense. I do think they're really good. And again, I do believe when teams get later into the season, that's when they start clicking. I think once we see Miami get later into the season, we're going to see them start putting up 30 points consistently in the game. They have struggled the past few weeks. They get bounced back with the Giants, but that game against the Bills was a tough game for them. But I think when they come back around and play the Bills again, I think they're going to be a much better team than they were before. I think they'll be better defensively. I think they'll have Jalen Ramsey by the time that game is played. I'm not quite sure about that.
Probably.
But if they do, that's going to be a big addition to them. So I'm going to say the Miami Dolphins just based off I think that team is nowhere near its peak.
When that defense gets going, right, when they get their guys, and Coach Vic Fangio, who I'm a huge fan of, defensive coordinator over there, I mean, him with Mike McDaniel, they could dial some nasty stuff. So Miami's a good choice, man. I just had them ranked over Buffalo not long ago. Then Buffalo beats them. I'm like, all right, that sends them back down to earth. Now with Buffalo's injuries, there's a shot that Miami wins that division again. NFL can change on a weekly basis. It's absolutely insane. Kyle, who's your number two team? You got Chiefs 1. We all got Chiefs number 1. I'm going Jacksonville 2, which is crazy. Jackson's going Miami. Who are you going number 2?
See, I disagree with you guys in a sense because I feel like you guys both said like you believe in a lot of teams. I feel like I'm the different. I'm looking at these AFC teams and it's youth. There's just a lot of like the AFC and NFC to me have always felt like two things. The AFC always looks like a team you would build off of Madden.
Yes.
And the NFC always looks like, and that's just simply how it always is. The Dolphins are straight out of Madden. I mean, Devin Akane, Jay Watt, and the NFC is always more like coach, discipline, boring football. And I don't know why that's always been the case, but that still seems true today, other than the Patriots. So I don't believe in a lot of these teams. And I do believe more in that disciplined, boring football. So I'm gonna go with the Bengals. Joe Burrow is like a boring quarterback, but he is a good, precise ball carrier. He protects the ball for the most part. I know he's struggling this year and he's got that injury, but I'm gonna go Bengals just because I think they can get it back together, and I do like Joe Burrow.
That's a great choice. I mean, again, it's somebody. One of us is probably going to be one of our second choices. Chiefs are probably not going to win. It's going to be somebody, one of the teams that we mentioned. I bet you, I really wouldn't be shocked if it's either the Dolphins, the Bengals, or a team like, again, I don't think the Jacksonville will win it, but I think that they can definitely get there. All right, now let's go with the NFC. So, Jackson, I'll start with you. Who's your number one choice? I think we're probably all going to probably have the same number one.
I think we might all have the same number two, I'll be honest.
We may.
My number one right now is the San Francisco 49ers. That team they just look really complete. Their offense it runs. What am I looking for here? It's like reading a book. You just turn the page and it's nice and fluent. And that's what the San Francisco 49ers offense is. They're ran perfectly. They got weapons all over the place. And then it's the same thing defensively. And I think them adding Randy Gregory is a really underrated acquisition for them. If Randy Gregory can get back to what he was a couple years ago with the Cowboys, that is a really scary pickup for other teams, for the 49ers. They're well coached. They got great players all over the field. And I think they're the consensus number one favorite for the NFC. And I think we'll find out here in a second what you two think about that.
Kyle, go ahead.
I mean, I'm going to save the breath. The 49ers, exact same reason he's at. Defense, offense, they've got everything. The 49ers.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, Kyle Shanahan's a genius. Defense looks great, and he's going to make sure he manufactures that offense to look just as amazing. Are we probably all going to have the same number two here? Jackson?
Yeah, I got the Philadelphia Eagles number two here. This offense, again, this is another really, really good offense. Jalen Hurts is a really dynamic quarterback. And I think this team, really rallies off Nick Sirianni as the coach. I think he's not more of like the head coach. He's more as like a manager in baseball. He manages the locker room, and I think these guys really like playing for him. And then, again, this defense, you get the Georgia Bulldogs on defense. The defensive line is fierce. They got some good corners. And, again, this team was just in the Super Bowl last year, so they're experienced.
Yeah. Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going with the same thing. I would say a little different, though. The way the Eagles draft and build a team is so disciplined and so beautiful at the same time. I mean, in the trenches, they are deep on both offense and defense, and that's how you build a Super Bowl team. Jalen Hurts doesn't have to do much. That's the reality of it. Jalen Hurts, he offers that running ability, which I think is so important, but I don't think you have to expect much of Jalen Hurts for this team to win, and that's what we've seen these first few weeks is the team is just built well all around, and Hurts' rushing ability, I think, is just the X factor to what makes this offense and this team so successful.
Yeah, and I'm going to do the same. I'm going to go Philadelphia Eagles. And, again, the thing with the Philadelphia Eagles, though, this is scaring me, and I'll be honest, is that the offense hasn't looked the same since Shane Steichen left. They're a very run-heavy team right now, which, again, that's not a bad thing, but it's just running. They got to start being able to throw the ball a little bit better. They got the playmakers in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith to do so. Dallas Goedert's another guy. DeAndre Swift's another guy that you can throw the ball to 40, 50 times a season, and he can make those plays with his legs after he gets a ball in his hands. But he's been doing phenomenal running as well. So that offensive line's been amazing. They got the weapons on offense. I mean, that defensive line, it is the Georgia Bulldogs, man. It really, that team, man, that Eagles team, they just continue to take players from Georgia. All right, now let's do this. One sleeper team from the AFC. Jackson, who do you got?
The NFC?
AFC.
AFC?
A.
Thought we would not just do that.
No, we did 2 teams that you think are
A
going to make
sleeper
it.
team.
No, a sleeper.
Sleeper. Like who not a lot of people may be counting out, but
So I'm gonna go and say I think the Cleveland Browns could be a sleeper team.
I was gonna choose.
I think Deshaun Watson, you know, the people the media they show the dumb plays of him, throwing about. I think like he's been solid quarterback this year, and I think their defense is really good up front. They're solid. I love their secondary: Denzel Ward, Grant Delpit, Juan Thorno, some dogs in the defense. And then offensively, I love the guys like Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore. And it does suck that they did lose Nick Chubb, and honestly, it does hurt them a lot. But overall, I think when they're gonna get guys like they can sign Kareem Hunt. I think down the season when he gets more reps, I think that'll be a good pickup for him. So I think the AFC is tough. Kyle, I know you don't really think that, but the AFC is really tough, and I think the Browns are gonna have a hard time to get through them. But I think they definitely, if I was gonna pick one team, it would be them.
So the Cleveland Browns. Hey, I like it. All right, Kyle. What do you also? If you got the Browns, say the Browns.
I mean, I did have the Browns, but I want to be fun, and I think it's always fun to have hot takes, and who's counting this team out? Who's scared of the Pittsburgh Steelers? Nobody is scared of the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, but I was so high on them. I thought they were going to beat the 49ers week 1. I mean, the preseason stuff got to me. So I want to double down just so if it happens, I can say I said so. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers could finish with. I mean, they just beat. Let's go over who because they lost bad to the Texans.
Yeah.
30-6. I mean, that defense has been. That offense has not been looking like it should. You got Kenny Pickett, and I'm not high on George Pickens either. But Najee Harris has talent. He just hasn't got going. George Pickens is talented. They have a lot of talent there. Kenny Pickett just needs to tap into it, and the sophomore slump is usually hits guys hard. But a lot of guys, in the middle of their sophomore year, they take that step.
I'll say something too. I mean, look, we always talk about Pete Carmichael because you're a Saints guy. Matt Canada should be getting talked about. We haven't talked about him yet, but again, and another thing too with Kenny, I like Kenny Pickett too. Kyle, I was high on the Saints. Steelers as well. I really was going into this season. I thought they would figure it out. I like Pickett. Another thing that everyone's forgetting about, Deontay Johnson's hurt. They don't have Deontay right now. So when Deontay Johnson gets back, look, George Pickens doesn't create any separation. He made some great catches, 0 separation. Every time Pickett throws it his way, it's a 50-50 ball. That Pickens makes a 60-40, but still it's tight coverage. Deontay Johnson's a guy that can get open and give Kenny Pickett an easy guy to throw the ball to. I also love Najee Harris, Pat Freiermuth, Darnell Washington. Who knows? You're not. Listen, it sounds like a crazy take right now, but man, I would have been with you, a few weeks ago. I mean, I would have been saying the same thing. Like, I like Pittsburgh. I do. I really do.
And I'm not going here to say it like I think Pittsburgh's winning the Super Bowl. We named 3, and this is just my sleeper team. I think Pittsburgh. I don't know if I want to. I think they can make the divisional round. I mean, they have beat talented teams. They beat the Browns, which was his sleeper, Jack's sleeper. I mean, they've beat some talented teams, but they've got beat on quite often this season. I think that's where a lot of this negative comes from because it wasn't even one-score games. 30-7 from the 49ers and 30-6 from the Texans. That's pretty rough. So, I mean, I would see why a lot of people would count them out, but I've been high on them, and I do think Matt Canada is the problem, but I think without having Deontay Johnson, that's a problem. Najee Harris hasn't been able to run the ball. I think that's a problem. I think these are things that could get figured out, though. I think more as the season goes on, and Steelers are a team that can always get hot at the right moment. I mean, especially with that defense. TJ Watt, Highsmith, they have talent on that defense. I think they could get it rolling. I think they have Patrick Peterson now, too. I think they can get it rolling. I think they could end the season. They're 3-2 right now with how bad their play calling has been. They're 3-2 right now. I think they can end the season with about 10 wins. I think it's possible for them to end the season 10-7, go to the divisional round. They win it, they lose it, I don't know. But I think they can make it past the wild card.
Well, and again, you just mentioned what I always like. You just got to make it. You win a game. you're one or two steps away from being to where you just make it, and you got a shot if the team can get hot. And I do fear like a Najee Harris in the playoffs, that's going to be a whole different animal. I'm telling you right now, he's a. I like him. Everyone wants to shit on him because he's not producing fantasy wise. He's a good football player, and defenses play against him totally different than the way they play against Jaylen Warren. Here's mine. Okay, AFC. This team, I don't like the coach, but I can't put it past my guy Justin Herbert, man. He's probably been my favorite quarterback prospect I've ever watched. He's number one. Josh Allen's number two. Okay? Herbert, to me, is everything you need in a quarterback. The dude's finger was in a splint last game. It was sticking out the glove. I don't know if you saw it against the Raider. Throwing hands and everything. I mean, this just shows you that this guy... No, was it? Sorry, it was not. I think it was non-throwing. I hope it's his non-throwing hand. If it was throwing hand, he did a hell of a job. I think it was a non-throwing hand.
I think it was.
Yeah, I don't remember. But anyway, long story short, Justin Herbert's a guy, man, that I'm not going to count him, Quentin Johnson, Mike Williams. Well, Mike Williams is no longer there right now, but Keenan Allen, those guys out. And they got the playmakers on defense. Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack are monsters. If the damn coach... Okay? If Brandon Staley can finally figure it out, we'll be in good shape. We'll be in all right shape. But until that happens, we're going to be in a pretty iffy situation. That's the truth. That's the truth. So, my sleeping team is the Chargers. If Staley can figure it out, we'll be in good shape. All right. NFC team. Jackson, who do you got?
I want to be boring and say the Saints, but I feel like that's what you two want to say. So I'm trying to think of another one just off the top of my head. I guess I'm going to go ahead and say I guess after their loss on Sunday night, I'm going to say Dallas Cowboys are probably a sleeper team in the NFC. This team is, again, it's another one of those teams. They got talent all over the field. Obviously it sucks they lost Trayvon Diggs for the year. Even then, they still have talent all over the field. And more thinking of the offensive side, Dak Prescott is really holding this team back right now offensively with these picks he's throwing. He's got playmakers. He's got CeeDee Lamb. He's got Michael Gallup. He's got Tony Pollard. I think Jake Ferguson's a really solid tight end. There's playmakers on this offense. They got a really good offensive line. This team should be better than what they're losing 42-10 on primetime on Sunday night. I think they do have a lot of work to do. They're going to play some tough teams. In the NFC, in their division, they're going to have to play Philadelphia. I don't think they have played them yet. They play them twice. So right now they are a sleeper team. I do think they can get there. And again, I think they'll be a wild card team. I think that's just what's going to happen. And like we've been saying, if you get into the dance, anything can happen.
Yes. And the Cowboys are a team right now with Mike McCarthy and everybody. I mean, look. They got a solid. I mean, I do like the West Coast style offense a little bit better. I know that everyone's probably shitting the bed. Oh, horrible after the loss, but I think that they can compete. I'm just not a big Dallas guy personally, but again, look, they got the talent. Micah Parsons is amazing. Dan Quinn's a good defensive coordinator. They got a solid squad over there. They really do. So we'll see what happens. Kyle, who's your sleeper for the NFC?
You're muted.
Nope. Is he muted? Yeah, he's still muted.
Yeah,
Kyle, you still might be muted. Listen.
Okay, my
there
bad.
We're good.
So I'm gonna keep it interesting first because I know who you're picking, Nick.
Yes.
So I'm gonna stay off for a second, and I'll go with Detroit. So the thing with me is Detroit. That offense is explosive. Jared Goff can do what he was. And you were saying earlier, you said how Jared Goff's one of those quarterbacks that's going to get them where they need to go because he has talent around him. And I believe that too. I do think Jared Goff has taken kind of that step. Taking a step up than what we all believe him. I believe he can win the bowl if he gets there. I believe if he gets there, he is fully able to get there. I think what's very underrated with the Lions that not a lot of people are talking about, because you saw it last year with Jamal Williams and you're seeing it this year with David Montgomery, is their rushing attack and their ability to get into the end zone. I mean, Jamal Williams led the league. Was it 17 touchdowns last year? I believe it was 17. So 17 or 21. It's one of those numbers. I believe it was 17. Had 17 touchdowns, led the league. David Montgomery is having that same type of impact, and I believe that's very underrated. I think they can get in the red zone. I think they're efficient there, and I think their offense is good. Their defense scares me a lot. Aiden Hutchinson's an animal, a monster. But you start to lose names when you start naming. You know, they had I forgot his name. He's out for the season with the left ACL tear after he tore his right ACL tear last
Manuel
year.
Mosley.
Yep, and he's out for the season, and they don't have too many big name guys there. But Dan Campbell, he'll get them there. He has a way of getting his guys riled up, play defense. They play hard defense, even if they don't have the best defense, top 10 defense. I think their offense is good enough, and I think Dan Campbell can keep that defense in check for them to be a team that can definitely surprise a lot of people and have a lot of wins, which it's not really surprising a lot of people. A lot of people have seen this coming.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. I would not mind replacing the Eagles with the Lions as one of my top 2 teams, because the Eagles right now, coaching, like, they aren't there yet, right? They have a great team, and I'm going to count on the talent, but I'm telling you, that offense has not lived up to where I think it should be right now. As for my sleeper team, yeah, Kyle, you know it. It's the New Orleans Saints. And look, with the top, I believe I keep on changing the number every week, but top probably 5 defense in the National Football League. You know, DeMario Davis, that linebacker, yeah, 3, 1 maybe. It could be. I mean, it really could be. DeMario Davis and Tyrann Mathieu and Paulson Adebo, Marshawn Lattimore, Cameron Hayward. Man, I love that. And I saw my boy Johnny Abram running around back there making a few tackles the other day. I mean, it's just like it's my Raiders all over again, just in New Orleans this time. Then I look on offense, and I see a shovel pass to Foster Moreau. I'm like, holy shit, where's John Gruden? Like, really, I mean, it's just crazy. Look, here's the thing. Offensive line's figuring it out. Derek Carr's trying to overcome that AC joint sprain. Foster Moreau is taking a step up with Juwan Johnson's absence. Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, Rashid Shaheed. Man, I mean, this team can get places in their running game with Alvin Kamara and Jamal Williams and Kendre Miller when Jamal Williams hopefully comes back. I don't know when, but when he does, this team should be able to beat you on every front, whether it's defense, whether it's offense, whether it's a passing attack or the rushing attack. They should be able to beat you as long as this offensive line continues to take strides forward. DA continues to have great defensive-minded games. And the offense and Pete Carmichael can figure it out. This is a team. I don't even know if I would say that they're sleepers. Yeah, everyone else is sleeping on them. But hell, I would have said in the preseason, this is a team I'm saying. Just bring in my guy Hunter Renfrow, Kyle. I know you said no. Just bring in Hunter Renfrow. We can call it the evening. And I'll tell you something. This team, give Carr one more comfortable weapon. Who the hell knows? I got the New Orleans Saints as my sleeper.
180. 180, set.
Hehehehe